Let's sell this house and start a new life.
Halfway through dinner, my daughter-in-law Sophie suddenly stood up and declared it. The room fell completely silent. I kept a smile on my face and glanced at my lawyer beside me, saying nothing. After all, her name wasn't on the property deed. My name is Margaret, and I am 63. This house holds the memories of most of my life. When I was younger, my late husband and I bought it and raised our son David here. Every wall carries the echoes of birthday songs, festive warmth, and whispered conversations late at night. After my husband passed, I remained here alone. This house was no longer just a building, it was the life we built together. When David married Sophie, I welcomed her with open arms, hoping she would feel part of the family. At first, I thought she respected this home. But over time, her words and attitude changed, as if this house were already hers. Initially, I chose to ignore it, thinking she spoke carelessly. But her demands grew bolder, even claiming this home was merely a temporary stay for me. I stayed silent for a long time, not out of weakness, but to preserve family harmony. Deep down, though, unease gnawed at me, sensing her intentions. After dinner one evening, Sophie wandered the living room with a glass of wine, eyeing the old photographs on the walls. "Once we move, we'll renovate properly," she said with a smile. "The house has potential, but it's too old." Her tone seemed harmless, yet each word stabbed at my heart. I smiled politely, but felt my chest tighten. A week later, at Sunday lunch, she leaned across the table and suggested in front of David, "We should knock down this wall to widen the kitchen. Perfect for entertaining friends." I glanced at my son. He smiled awkwardly and quickly changed the subject. That silence cut deeper than any words. I began to suspect he might secretly agree with her. Sophie's behavior grew increasingly audacious. Every visit, she acted like the owner, criticizing the crystal chandelier, complaining about the yard, insisting it would be perfect once they were in charge. I swallowed my words each time, but they pressed like stones against my heart. One evening, she repeated her declaration, "We need a fresh start. Selling this house is the best choice." Her tone ignored decades of my sacrifice and memories, as if they were mere obstacles. I could no longer hold back. My voice trembled slightly as I said, "This house is mine. It was built through the hard work of your father and me. You have no right to decide to sell it." Sophie shook her head, smiling. "Margaret, don't make this so complicated. David is your son. Sooner or later, this house will be ours. I'm just speeding things along." Her words pierced me. Worse still, my son stood silently beside her, no defense, no comfort. His silence felt like betrayal. I returned to my room and couldn't stop the tears. For days afterward, I wandered the house at night, sleepless, reliving memories with my husband. Every photo, every piece of furniture told our story. The thought of Sophie taking it all for her comfort filled me with sorrow and anger. I realized my silence had only fed her arrogance. But this was never just about the house. It was about my dignity, the memory of my husband, the life we built together. If I remained silent, she would push further, even drawing my son entirely to her side. That night, sitting at the kitchen table, tracing the worn-wood grain, I made a decision. The days of silence were over. Early the next morning, I contacted our longtime family lawyer, Mr. Reynolds. Since we bought the house, he had handled all our legal matters. His steady voice reassured me, "Margaret, rest easy. The property has always been in your name. After your husband passed, it fully transferred to you. Miss Sophie has no legal claim." Tears of relief came, but the wound inside did not heal. Sophie had been falsely claiming ownership. Mr. Reynolds continued, "Now is the perfect time to stop the spread of these lies. I will prepare certified copies of the property deed, and if necessary, testify in person." From that day on, I began preparing quietly. I sorted through old documents, gathering the property deed, tax records, and certified copies. Each touch calmed me. These tangible proofs were our promise, the evidence of my life. Sophie continued to boast about selling the house and upgrading our lives, but I no longer wavered. Her arrogance was destined to crumble in the face of truth. The decisive day arrived. Sophie invited relatives over, acting like the hostess. I accepted her invitation, but my mind was already set. I had asked Mr. Reynolds to join. "Let her speak first," he advised calmly. "At the right moment, we'll act." During dinner, I polished the table, laid out fine china, and lit candles. Outwardly, it was an ordinary family gathering. Inside, I knew tonight would determine everything. Relatives arrived, filling the room with laughter. Sophie wore a smug, provocative smile. I remained silent, patiently waiting. Finally, she stood, raised her glass, and declared loudly, "We've decided to sell the house and start a new life." The room fell silent. David froze, eyes darting between Sophie and me. I took a deep breath, set down my fork, folded my napkin, and smiled calmly. Then I turned to Mr. Reynolds and whispered, "Please explain to everyone." He placed the property deed on the table, speaking steadily. "This house is solely owned by Margaret Carter. After her husband's passing, full ownership transferred to her. Miss Sophie holds no legal rights." Silence enveloped the room. Sophie's face went from pale to red, frozen in confusion and embarrassment. David finally spoke, guilty. "Mom, I didn't stop her." "I'm sorry." I held his hand and said, "Love is not about taking, it's about respect." That night, Sophie stormed out in anger. I wandered the house slowly, reaffirming the life my husband and I had built. This house is mine, not just legally, but because it carries love and memories. Life gradually returned to calm, and David began working to regain my trust. Through this, I learned that protecting what's yours isn't only about ownership, it's about preserving dignity. Some will always try to take your value, but as long as you hold on to truth and principle, no one can truly harm you. Today, I still live in this house, enjoying peace, guarding each ordinary day in my way. This is my quiet, steadfast victory.